um, from the exhibition. And first, just to say in general, congratulations. I really, one of the things that's fun about doing these kinds of projects is you get to know artists who you weren't familiar with. And so I'm really grateful to learn more about you and your work. I picked your piece because I was really drawn to the fact that you focused on identity as from your perspective or from an individual perspective, as opposed to identity of community. And so not to jump over all the important things like process and inspiration, but perhaps maybe start with that, because that's, I think, at the heart of what the project is. Can you maybe talk about how you also frame identity in that way?
Well, in terms of process, and I guess specifically for this painting, it started kind of randomly one day. There had been a lot of like days of introspection, of course, being in quarantine, but I was just like, I wasn't doing much of anything. I was just kind of like going along with school projects, yada yada yada, you know. So I was like, I want to paint. Like, I want to paint for myself. So this was a chance for me to like actually take my time with the piece, let it flesh out, evolve how it needs to. So I started by taking just some pictures in the mirror, and I guess what kind of came to me in some some weird way was like, what if I just paint the reflection? Like, why stop at just one?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a technical push for me and a conceptual push for me in a way. So from there, I just kind of kept picking at it. I like with the photos, seeing how the arrangements were, taking more photos, have my boyfriend take more photos. You know? But once I got down to starting it, I had a crossroads. Beforehand, a lot of my pieces were made with the impetus of a certain style. So, and I believe that style was part of me as an artist. Like that's how people identified me. Um, so with this specifically, I said, I don't want to do one thing. I want to like show that I can do both of what I do. I usually go for more figurative or more realistic approaches. So I tried both for this one, and I like the outcome. I think that it describes me as an artist without having to say anything.
And that's totally, I think that, thank you. I think what was interesting to me, and I tried to do this without looking. I looked at everyone's websites after the fact. Like I wanted to really focus on what was submitted to the BLM exhibition. And so I was struck by how this was doing a lot of things, that it was introspective, that there was clearly like a metaphor of the artist that seemed really important. But it also was really interesting to me how that would connect to a larger Black community, specifically in the context of Black Lives Matter as well. And thinking about, I think you say in your statement the importance of intersectionality in your work, and I imagine that comes through both in dance. I love that you're also a dancer. I think that like there's something very physical about your paintings, and that's got to be there. A more awareness of the body. So maybe, if you could think about, and also I should say, in going through your website and realizing that you do a lot of portraiture, and so that's a real expression of yours. And so, did you think at all about what you'd submit being of someone else? Was that ever a consideration, like still under this umbrella of community, or were you really certain that a self-portrait was the right path? I think it is, but I'd love to hear.
I did think of like submitting a different painting. I had probably 3 other recommendations in mind, but I figured I couldn't tell their story. Like on a general level, yes, I can tell the story of Black individuals, specifically Black men, gay Black men. But I didn't want to run the risk of having someone else, because I paint people that I know. So I didn't want to run the risk of having someone else be the face of something that they either don't necessarily fully agree with or just don't want to be associated with. So part of respect, part of like putting myself forward. I mean, this is one of my like eye-grabbing pieces. Like, it's my only double portrait, especially double self-portrait at that, but painting specifically.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think it makes me also think that one of the thoughts that I had in looking at your work, and I should say that there are two images in the exhibition. One is of another person that by you, so I should acknowledge that. But I was struck by, putting forward oneself, and similar to what you're saying, not wanting to speak for someone else or not wanting to put someone else in a context that they haven't put themselves in. And it struck me, or it reminded me of one of the critiques that has been made of in some ways, particularly a white participation in Black Lives Matter, that there is this, like, we're putting something on communities of color that is coming from our perspective and it isn't the right way to do it. And so I felt looking at yours that you're advocating for individual autonomy in that. And I felt like that was really, really strong. And in thinking about a little bit about the process and the formal qualities, I also liked how it's at three quarters. I mean, you could have done like the back of your head and the reflection. There's a number of ways you could have done it, but I think there's something particularly strong about the slight turn of the body. Was that a conscious choice? Was that something that just it made sense through taking pictures that you felt was particularly pertinent?
I mean, for me, it was the angle and kind of being able to get both sides of my face. So I wanted there to be a connection, both with the viewer and with, the portraiture in and of itself.
I like that. How does your background in dance inform your painting? Does that factor in at all? Is it something you think about when you're painting or when you're drawing, or even like the mural behind you?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it until like recently. I guess my goal for dance was always to just express a more physical side of art or creative expression. But I guess in terms of like painting, I have realized that there is a need for, I guess, the physicality of it all.
Mhm.
Like I like being able to like actually get a sense of like the physical in my portraits.
It made me think of two things. Well, the portrait made me think of one thing, and your statement just now made me think of a second. And the portrait reminds me of a comment I heard a painter say years ago about how they were an abstract painter, so very different than your work, but they always looked at their painting in the mirror. So they looked at the reflection of the painting because that's how they could tell if the abstraction held up. So about seeing the painting in reverse was important to them. So I was struck by that. But hearing you just now talk about the physicality and connecting this to, I'm reminded of a statement by Julie Moretu when they were painting a huge mural somewhere in New York, some office building, and they were being interviewed about the process, because Julie paints super large scale, but this was like wall size, like massive, like 32 by 24 feet, like giant. And they talked about how there's a muscle memory that develops with painting, that your body actually knows how to respond to the flat surface in front of you, and that gives some comfort to how you might interact with a large space. And I think that's a pretty attuned way to think about one's work, but it strikes me that as a dancer, that might be a way in which those things also come together.
I think it's kind of funny. It might be slightly unrelated, but I have been told that when I'm painting, I dance around. Like, like I'll literally dance around a painting, and like while I'm like moving back and forth, or like going from one section to another section. And I think it's more evident when I work bigger, like the mural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's great. I think that well, I mean, I think people, I think it's interesting to think about the physicality of it, both the act of doing it and how that might be represented on a canvas. And so that's interesting to think about.
I also dance around the paint, like, with the paintbrush.
Yeah. Also
too.
sounds messy. What are you working on anything in particular right now that's maybe not on your website that that's come out of this project, that's been inspired by this project?
Yes and slightly no. Beforehand not inspired by this project, but after everything, yes, inspired by this. But
Mhm,
my main inspiration was more of a wake up call.
mhm.
I won't say about that for now. But I'm working on a series of 3. It's gonna be my senior thesis. So I'm working with Rob Tarbell for that. So
Oh, I know Rob.
yeah, love Rob.
That's great. Rob is awesome.
Amazing.
I
So
look forward to seeing that. I think, is it, are you, when you say a wake up call, are you
um
elaborate anymore? It's okay if you don't. I know you're still in the process of thinking and working. So
oh no, I
no,
just don't want to give away too much information. I want
fair
it to be
enough.
like a surprise.
Fair enough.
But I think wake up call is a good way to phrase it.
Okay. I realized that I was not looking at time, so I'm gonna maybe ask one more question. I think we're probably at 10 minutes. I don't know if you've been keeping track. Um, how did you? This is sort of because I think there's something to the dance thing. How did you make the decision to decide to major in studio art? You're majoring in studio art, right? Or comm art. So
Oh, well,
as a
yeah, com arts, communication.
yeah.
Well, art's been like there
Mhm.
first, I guess. I didn't start dancing until like junior year of high school, so I was kind of a
Gotcha.
late bloomer. So it was kind of like, I've been doing art for all this time. I'm in PBA for art. Dance kind of came secondary, so I put it secondary.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I think that um, you're a super strong painter, and I really it really like selecting this and studying this and then exploring your website has been really rewarding, and I'm really glad that I've had the chance to see the work, and I look forward to your senior thesis work, however you see it, probably online.
Oh,
And wish you the best.
thank you so much. This has been
Yeah,
an amazing
send
opportunity. Excuse me?
you cut out a little bit.
Oh, I was saying,
So I don't know if this is what you're saying.
thank you. I'll post sorry, I think it's like some weird technical error going on. My Wi-Fi is like kind of shoddy down here.
It's okay. I have 2 other people in my household who are also on Zoom, so that might be part of the problem too.
That might be
Um,
no, I plan on
yeah.
posting previews every now and then of the process work.
Oh, great. I will if I will follow you so I can check it out. And please send, however y'all will announce your senior thesis show, please make sure that I'm on the list, and I'll share it with everyone at the gallery too.
Of course.
It'd be great to share your work. So
Thank you so much.
well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you
I'll
too.
talk to you soon.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.